everybody, it's Reed and welcome back to another tutorial. Today we got a great video. I'm very excited to teach this control. This is called the Bluff pass. Now if you know what a pass is where you shift the top pack to the bottom of the deck. A shift is where you shift the bottom pack to the top of the deck. Now this is not the classic definition of a pass, such as the classic pass or that sort of thing, but it's still called the pass because it kind of it mimics a pass, and that's why it's called the Bluff pass, because it'll appear like you've done a pass without doing a pass at all. And it's definitely one of my favorite controls, just the idea, how deceptive it is, how it works, and then the subtleties that go into this. There's so many to make this one action seem like something else. And it's a really great pass. So this is the first pass that I'm going to be teaching. I'll teach kind of the passes that I know and that I use in orders, that with starting with the easier one. So the Bluff pass, probably the easiest pass, and then maybe we'll go into the spread pass. That one's not too bad. And then we can talk about the cover pass, the classic pass a little bit. But for now, the Bluff pass, I learned this move for the first time. I have no idea where. And I learned a few subtleties from Xavier's Fade that are really good. So, let's just jump right into the Bluff pass. All right, so for a quick demonstration on the Bluff pass, we'll have a selection. Let's put that right there. They'll call stop wherever they like. Let's say right here. And now they'll just replace their card onto the pack, and I will just dribble their card somewhere into the middle of the deck. And with a snap of the fingers, their card jumps right to the top of the deck, the Jack of Hearts. So in terms of a breakdown, this is what it looks like, all right? They call stop wherever they like, and we go and we grab where they say stop. Now they're gonna replace their card on top of the pack, right? And then we'll come in and lose it into the middle of the deck. And now their card jumps to the top of the deck. All right, so the Bluff pass is a really fun move. There's a lot of subtleties, but it's not too difficult, and it can be super convincing. So step one, you have a selection, right? However you want, they pick a card. So what you want to do is, just as they've taken their card, you can get a break under the top card, okay? So you can either do the pinky count, or I'd rather just do a push off and you grab a break, okay? So now you have a break under the top card. Essentially what you're doing is a similar idea from the riffle force, okay? So you're gonna riffle and let them call stop wherever they want. And this can be totally fair wherever they want. You're gonna stick your finger in like you're taking that spot, and then you're gonna tilt the deck down, so now it's pointing at their eye line. So now, if I take one card, you can't tell how many cards I've taken, right? You don't know if I've taken at your spot. If I take your whole pack, it could be one. If I've taken this, it could be the whole pack, it could be one, you never know. You can't tell from that angle. So you stick your finger in, you tilt the deck down, and now what you're doing is you have that break, and you're coming and you're using the thumb, and you're contacting this break. Okay, and now you're lifting just the one card at the break. So when this is done fluidly, it totally looks like you're taking where they said stop. But really, I've only taken one card. From the back, I'm gonna riffle, bring the hand in, and then the thumb comes down and grabs the card at the break, okay? You have to hold this card in a very specific way. You want it to look exactly like this. So hold a pack of cards this way, okay? Thumb is gonna rest on the back, and then these 3 or 4 fingers are pretty much covering the rest of the deck. So you want essentially all of this side and all of this side to be covered. You can definitely curl the index on top if you like, whatever's comfortable. So just practice coming in like this. I like to curl the index, 3 fingers on the front, thumb on the back, and holding the deck like this, because that is what you want to mimic. So, practice doing this a few times so you can mimic that. So you come in, you go like this, and then we're doing that grip, okay? So you see I got the thumb covering there and these fingers covering the front. That is what is going to provide the concealing that you only have one card, because it's the same idea. You need to keep the back of this card pointed up the eye line, and then they won't be able to tell how many cards you're holding in your hand. And if you sell this properly, they won't even question, they'll just believe that you took exactly where they said stop. So that's problem one. We've covered the sides, so now they have no idea how many cards you have. Now obviously don't hold it this way, because then they'll be able to see from this side, but if you hold it straight on, they can't tell. Don't hold it this way either, where you're hiding it. You just want it to be out in the open, like you would if you were, riffling normally and you had them put their card back. It shouldn't look any different than if you actually do it, okay? So you see how I actually do it. I come here and I grab, and now I have this whole pack. And if I do the bluff pass version, it looks the exact same. So I'm in this position. Now we need to cover that the whole deck is still here, because essentially 50 cards are still gonna be here, right? You have their selection, you have the one card in their hand, but we want it to look like, half the cards are there, or wherever they called stop. Obviously this is a problem if they call stop near the end. It's not a problem for this hand, but for this hand, there should be this many cards, but then all of a sudden they'll see this. The first thing is to just kind of time force them. I've talked about this a lot. If you just kind of start to slow down, and go slow from the beginning, they're not going to wait that long and they'll call stop near the top, right? If they're starting to get near the end, you can just let go and be like, oh, you missed it, let's do it again, all right? Try to call stop near the middle. Because sometimes you'll get those people who want to call stop at the last card. So if that's the case, once I realize, oh, they're not going to call stop in the top half, I'll just quickly skip through the bottom half and I'll be like, oh, you missed it, do it again, try to get it near the middle this time. So you can try to force them to do it in the top half by just, going slow and timing it so they say it in the top half. First thing is obviously you're gonna keep this deck pointed at their eye line. It kind of has the same effect. If they can't see the sides, they can't tell how many cards are there. Again, this this kind of just looks like one card. You can't really tell that it's a whole deck. So that's the first step. The other step is this nice subtlety of opening the hand and letting the cards fall forward. So when it's pointed at the eyes, the deck's already pointed down, just let the index finger go and the cards will spread out a little bit. Okay, and what that does is it just distorts your perception, right? It's still the same thickness, but it just doesn't look like a full pack anymore. And it adds to, oh, he's taken some of the cards away, so the cards are a little messy, right? If I were to take cards away, the cards might get a little messy, and that looks totally normal. It's just a little convincer, it makes sense, right? So just as you come in and take that card away, you let these cards kind of fall. And now it's really hard to tell how many cards there are, especially because they're in a jumble. So that's one really good subtlety. So how you're doing that again, you let the index finger go a bit, and the cards will just use gravity and slide forward. Then you have them replace their card on top. And here's where the last important subtlety is. As you're closing, you don't want to just go like this. What you want to do is be able to dribble the rest of the cards like you would, right? If you do this with a riffle, they put their card back and then you probably dribble the rest, right? You wouldn't just go like that. And it's also a great convincer because they actually see cards falling onto their card. And that's probably what sells this the most. So all you're doing is as you bring this over, this thumb is contacting, a chunk of cards, maybe just a third of the deck. Doesn't even have to be half this pack, just a few cards. And it's just gonna kind of lever them up a little bit like this. So that's gonna do is as you bring the cards over, it doesn't look like your hand touches and picks up a pack of cards. It just looks like you're bringing your hand over and all of a sudden you have a pack of cards in your hand, right? My hands are far apart, and then all of a sudden I have this pack, right? Whereas if I came here and grabbed the pack, you can tell. So you're gonna lever those cards up with the thumb, but you wanna do this in the cover of that card over top. So you're basically lining up these edges so that when you're at this point, these fingers can come and squeeze that pack, right? And lift it up with the rest of the deck. So you don't really need to come here and drop this card and pick up, right? You can just come over, squeeze with the kind of the middle finger and the thumb of this hand, hold the pack like this, and you'll be able to lever it up with these fingers, okay? You come over top, thumb pushes, and now you've made contact, and you're just gonna lift the rest of the pack, and now you're totally ready to start dribbling. So it's all happens in one smooth motion, okay? It's just like this. You see how that works? It just comes over, I grab that pack, and I dribble. You have the greatest subtlety, right? Because they'll be still totally convinced if you do this part right. Remember, this is their card. And now when you take away, this isn't their card, but it still looks like it is. So now they believe that's their card, and they just see a bunch of cards getting dribbled right on top of it. And there's no question in their mind that their card's now in the middle. Now, obviously, all you've done is just loaded that card second from the top. So you can just come in, do a double lift, and you're good to go. So this is a great control if you need to start with their card as a double, which a lot of tricks actually do use. So this is a great control to start those kind of tricks. If you want their card as you know, just their card single all by itself, you can do this way of ditching a double, where when the card is face up, what you're going to do is you're going to hold it between kind of the thumb, index, and middle finger, kind of at the side like this. You're kind of coming like you're going to flip it, right? You're pulling it along until it gets to the bottom corner, and then these fingers are going to grab the bottom card. They're going to kind of hold on to it so that you can pull off the top card and hold the bottom card there. And at the same time, you're going to kill the wrist down like this, and that's going to cover that motion. And so you come like this, you get to the edge, these fingers are going to grip the back card, the wrist is going to kill as you pull this card away, and this card just sits on top of the deck. So it's very clean, very easy to do, and now you're left with the one card. So that's how you clean it up. So time for some subtleties. So obviously I've talked about a lot of the major subtleties. This control is basically all subtleties because you're totally faking what you're doing. So you need a lot of convincers and a lot of subtleties to make this look real. So that first one is the same one from the riffle force. You stick the middle finger in where they say stop, and that'll just give them the illusion that you're taking where they say stop, even though you're just taking one card. So make sure you come in, do that as you tilt the deck down and you take the card off, okay? Tilting that deck down is important because that creates that illusion. You know, if you leave the deck like this, then they can see that you've only taken one card and not taken where they say stop. So that covers that motion. Next is, you know, the one where you spread the deck like that. That's another subtlety I talked about. That just makes it more difficult for them to tell how many cards are in this pack, because it's really important that this doesn't appear to be the full deck. And then finally, that dribble. So as you come over, being able to dribble the cards is totally the strongest subtlety in this trick. It'll really help you convince them that their card is in the middle. So in terms of body language, you need to be natural, you need to be totally relaxed, and basically make this mimic exactly how you would do this if you were doing it for real. So just practice riffling, taking that pack, holding it, having them placing their card on top, coming over, and dribbling. So that was me doing it for real. So when I come in and do my bluff pass, it should pretty much look exactly the same. It's time for some uses and other ideas. A quick little pointer I'll mention is if you have a pinky break and you release kind of the fat of the thumb here, that card will pop up. You see like this, and then it'll pop up when you release this fat of the thumb. So make sure when you riffle, you keep this part over this corner, and that'll prevent that one card from popping out, because if you accidentally release that card and you start to go like this, there'll be this really weird break on the top card. Also, when you come here and you do this, sometimes you'll find the cards just kind of fall from the back and they get stuck there, and you just have to work on releasing these fingers at the front when you dribble. So I'll cover that more in another video on the dribble, but I know that's a common error. You'll kind of get stuck and just the cards will be kind of just falling and getting stuck like this. And that's because you're releasing too fast at the thumb and not fast enough at the fingers, so they all kind of get stuck and you can get a big mess and the dribble doesn't look very nice. So I've talked about how to ditch a double, right, if you want it like this. Another thing you can easily do is, if it fits into your routine, of course, because I always find it's weird when people just take a double lift, flip it over, and put it down, unless there's a reason, right? Unless you don't want them to see their card or whatever. So obviously this is a good switching technique, right? It's great in an ambitious card routine. If you go, you do the bluff pass, boom, there's your first phase of the ambitious card. Their card jumps back to the top of the deck. And then you're already ready for phase 2 because you're in a double, so you flip, put their card back in the middle, and then it jumps to the top again. So this is a great for ambitious card. It's also great for you know, just doing a plain switch, right? They've seen their card. You can even hold the card in the deck like this, have them sign it while it's in a double, and then you can go and put the card down, and you've just done a really nice double lift switch, and they won't even see it coming because you're a step ahead as the bluff pass already loads it second from the top. So this is, you know, great if there's any tricks where you need to load a card second from the top. Another quick idea, right? If you just need that one card, you don't like this ditch, I will admit it's a little weird to do that wrist kill, but you can definitely make it totally natural by just kind of coming like this. But another idea, so let's say we want the 2 of spades, but it's in a double. You just put it onto the top of the deck, and then you just come and you just second deal it onto the deck, and now you're totally clean. All right, so that's the video on the bluff pass. I hope you guys like this one. This is a really great control. One, I honestly don't use a whole lot, but I really need to start using more because I used to use it a bit more. And I would always get away with it, and it's just so fun to do. This is honestly one of my favorite moves, you know, all the mechanics, the subtleties are really great, and it's just fun to perform. So, you know, practice it, make sure you get that down. The biggest thing I'd say is don't kick up with the thumb too early so that you flash that. You want to have this covered before you kind of kick up with the thumb, and that'll just make that dribble seem more realistic. You know, even sometimes I'll kick up just a second too early as I come over. So that's one thing to always work on. But practice this, it's a really great control. You know, fit it in where you can, and enjoy, you know, practicing your first pass, because passes are very difficult, a lot of them, and this is a fun one. So definitely like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.